This is a propeller system. So remember for cruise it's gonna be 25, sorry,
22, 23.
22, 2300 RPMs, okay? Right?
Yep.
So this is the system. So the system uses the oil, the same oil that uses for the engine to cool down and lubricate.
Mm-hmm.
We have the paddle both here. We have the flyweights. This is a spring,
Threaded.
right?
Is it the same spring threaded shaft? It's the same.
No. This one is a governor. So this one is a small thing.
Okay.
So-
So that's not a. There is no threaded shaft.
There is
That's-
no connection with the engine actually.
Okay.
It is the only thing that uses from the engine is the actual oil.
Okay.
Okay, and obviously like the shaft is like the tube to put the oil into the hub. That's the
Okay.
only thing. So the shaft is basically the
Okay. So
Like,
that's basically
that's the only
access.
connection that they have.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
flyweights. So the flyweights are gonna be rotating obviously at 2300 RPMs. So the way that you have to explain probably is like from cruise to an under speed condition, and then back to cruise. Okay.
Okay.
So what is gonna happen? So you're cruise 22, 23.
Mhm.
The system is closed because now you have the same amount of oil to maintain 2300 RPMs,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So what's happening if you start pitching up? You're gonna start like climbing with not touching the propeller or throttle
The throttle.
controls.
Yeah.
So you are bringing a nose up.
Mm-hmm.
So what is gonna happen? The flyweights are gonna start feeling that reduction of speed because actually you are reducing like the speed as you are climbing. So those flyweights were rotating at 2300, but they are like feeling that they are decreasing the airspeed.
So
It's
they
gonna start
turn
going
inwards. Yep.
Why? Because they have to counteract the force of the spring with 2300 RPM.
Okay.
But as they are slowing down, they don't have like the enough force, centrifugal force to counteract, so they are going down. As this is going down, they're gonna put more oil into the hub. To what? To maintain the 2300 RPMs. More oil means more RPM, right?
Yep. So
Means-
you're pitching up.
So
More oil is
basically-
being pushed into the propeller hub.
So it's gonna be pushing like the propeller to have a low pitch angle. So it's increasing the RPM just to maintain the same RPMs. Okay.
Okay.
Once the flyweights recover like the revolutions, so it start going back on position, pulling the valve up, and it's gonna be closing the system.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What about? So we explained this one: cruise, under speed, back to cruise.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go into
Overspeed.
overspeed. So what's happening on the overspeed?
If we're cruising, we pitch down without changing the throttle and propeller controls, then the flyweights will move outwards
Because
because
it's
there's
like a lot of centrifugal force is gonna be going upwards, pulling up the pile above, and then the oil is coming back to
to the reservoir.
the reservoir. Okay?
So when you say pitch down, and I'm trying to point on my video, up there, right there,
where?
like above that, in between that and the flyweights. When you said
There's a line like just pulling up on the.
oh, so it's just a line that like pulls
pulls
up
up,
through
pulls
the
down,
spring.
pulls up, pulls
Okay,
down.
and that
So
moves the pilot valve to open and close.
Yeah, this
Okay.
one is to allow. You see the
The
arrows
oil to
going
flow back
or going this
to the
this
propeller.
direction.
Okay, all right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
So on the
overspeed, we
overspeed,
pitch down,
it's gonna be pulling this up, putting the arrows here, so it's gonna
letting the oil
return.
go, return to the.
So it means less oil, less RPM,
Okay.
but less RPM to still maintain the same
2300
RPM.
RPM. It's a constant
This
speed.
is constant. That's why it's constant speed propeller. Once the flyweights return to 2300 RPM, they're gonna close. I mean, they're going back to position, closing the
Mm-hmm.
like closing the pile above, and then basically maintaining 2300 RPM. Constant speed propeller. Why? Because the system it does this every single second that the airplane is like changing the pitch or changing the attitude
Mm-hmm.
to still maintain the 2300 RPM.
Yeah.
So that's why it's constant speed, because always it's gonna maintain like the same RPMs no matter what.
Okay.
Make sense?
That was a great help.
Good.
Okay.
Let's talk about like the unfeathered accumulator.
Yeah.
Remember that when you put the propeller all the way back, right? You have to go into feather condition, right?
Yep.
So when that happens, you release the force of the spring, flywheels are going up, and all the oil is gonna
Go into
come.
the reservoir, therefore
But-
letting
But some of them is gonna go into this unfeather accumulator.
Mhm.
This unfeather accumulator is basically an accumulator to restart the engine in the case that we feather the propeller,
Mhm.
right? So what happened? Let's say that we were practicing like feather procedures, and then we are ready to restart the engine. The only thing that you have to do is put the propeller all the way forward,
Mhm.
and this nitrogen is gonna push the oil with a little bit with pressure into the hub, so enough to put in an angle the blade and start windmilling, right?
Mhm.
But we don't have this system. So what do we have? Is basically the starter. Once we crank the starter, the pump start running, some oil start
Pushing
getting
oil
into
back
the,
into
the
the
hub,
hub.
and start putting the same in an angle, so it is gonna be enough to start windmilling.
Okay, so we do not. I
We
remember
don't have this
we don't
one.
have an unfeather accumulator, which is that thing you just drew. So like, say we're in flight, our
Just
engine
crank it.
dies, like we did that first flight or whenever that was. So we would still like before starting engine, prop full
the
forward,
propeller full forward.
go through our same startup checklist
Mhm.
and start it normally. So okay.
Until you crank, until it windmills. Once it windmills, then it's gonna be by itself. Like the wind is gonna be like
That pressure will help turn
rotate
the rotate the
to
propeller.
enough to start the engine.
Okay. Okay.
Makes
Good deal.
sense?
That makes sense.
Good. This is
Okay.
what you have to explain.